Okay? In most cases, when you make a decision to stop something, to let go of something, to change your belief or to accept something, it doesn't just magically fall away and never bother you again. I mean, anytime you create changes, things from the past do show back up, and you will have to deal with them. Things that are coming back around in full circle that is cause and effect from something that you no longer want to contribute to. It's like, oh man, I gotta deal with this. But yes, you do. But it's how you react and respond and get through them when they show back up is what matters, is if you're keeping it alive or if you're actually releasing it and letting it go. So what you're doing, letting go of something, you have to allow it to move through and be released. Anything pertaining to or keeping it alive, be done with it and not continue to think about it, play it out. The narration of reliving it, retelling it, re-feeling it, going through it. Assume things are happening in the same way, so stop thinking it. Consciously, you stop that, you self-talk in the moment that it appears. Confirming to yourself why and what it is, the progress of it. You're confirming to yourself the release of it. So what you're doing is you're stopping the programming, and when you let go and you stop reliving it. And the triggers and such and things of where it comes back through, it's the opportunity for you to take control of it, to be empowered, to not give the power to that situation any longer, but to take the power into your own control. What happens is you get the strength by allowing the moments to pass through with minimal attention, okay? Which is not putting your momentum is your energy, okay? By not putting it into it, which is feeding it, it slowly begins to diminish. It slowly starts to fade away. It slowly starts to die out. It slowly starts to move through. And when we want to move something through, we need to replace it. You're replacing it with healing. You want to add in a new something and become something more new or whatever, or create new things in our life or a new person within ourselves inside out. You have to move the old out, accept it, understand it. You peacefully release it without guilt or shame or resentment or anger. Now this takes time. It's when fear kicks in and you're overwhelmed by it. It's uncomfortable when it shows back up. It takes time and it takes things happening, it comes back through in a cycle. You don't want to allow the old pattern to give it control. You don't want to give your thoughts away to be consumed by the feeling and the trigger. You will slowly start to grab more control, slowly start to get it understanding. When you start reflecting about it later, you'll start to see, okay, this is what I did wrong. And you start looking at what you can do different instead of what other people need to do different. When you have the power to release it, because you have the power to decide that narration's done, it's gone, you don't want to live that narration anymore. That's your choice. That's being empowered. That's stepping out of victimization, self-victimization, which is self-manipulation. So what you want to do is you want to breathe. You want to just eventually you get into that you're feeling it and you're like, okay, and you breathe. Breathing is so important. Focus on your breathing. Just breathe. You speak the banishment into existence, and that's where you're speaking of what it is that's changing. Talk to yourself if you have to. Talk to whomever, say something, even if they're not listening to you or not taking anything seriously, still speak it into existence, because that's part of the process of yourself releasing it. It's the opposite of repeating the same narration, reliving it over and over and sticking it in there and keeping yourself in a victim in something and blaming other people. You stop normalizing it, you stop accepting it, you don't keep speaking the actual cycle into existence and repeating. That's what the narration is. You stop the narration. So you let yourself feel it, okay? For a minimal time period, just let yourself sit with it. It's not comfortable, but the uncomfortableness is worth it, because sitting with it, processing it, feeling it, is allowing you to accept yourself, to accept something going on. It's allowing it to be so that you can release it, because you can't release it if it's not allowed to be, because it's an experience. It's something you felt, you went through it, it's real. And when we pretend something isn't there because we don't want to look at it, that isn't getting rid of it, that's just hiding it within ourselves. Causes a lot of problems. It shadows stuff. Like, it's not worth it. Allow yourself to feel it, move it. And when you feel it, you don't fuel it. You release it. You respect that it once had a purpose. If you once had a fight or flight about something, and there was a reason that it came about, and if it's something that you're trying to let go of, like for any type of forgiveness or patterns of cycles or whatever that you're changing, you have to respect that it once had a purpose, honor that purpose, peacefully and let it go, release it. It doesn't mean you don't have to honor it by continuing it, because once it's expired, it's done, it's no longer has its purpose. You don't have to continue that. It's okay to release it and let it go. There's a loophole to be aware of, okay? You don't want to get hard on yourself or do any negative talk towards yourself because it surfaced. That's feeding into it. If you're hard on yourself, if you put yourself down, or you're angry at yourself, you're negative talk, you're shaming yourself, you're talking bad about yourself, that feeds into keeping it alive. That's not forgiveness. That's not honoring what the purpose once was. So that's very important to not do, and to not allow anyone else to do to you either, okay, when you're really releasing it. And that's all a part of also is owning it, acknowledging it, validating the truth, whether you like hearing it or not. And this is not something that can be done until you accept it and you can take responsibility for it and honor that, and actually decide to have the strength, because you decide to let it go, to release it, move on from it. And that's our own patterns, our own cycles, our own. And this includes when people say something that upsets you and it stemmed in a trigger that you shouldn't be taking personally, because it wasn't really personal towards you. And if they were intentionally trying to hurt you with it, you still shouldn't be taking it personally, because you're giving your own power away. Okay, this applies there too. You have to let that go and not continue to let yourself feel powerless to that any longer by accepting a different belief system that's creating this negative emotion that makes you feel bad. There's no reason for it. If that happens, there's something else going on. So you forgive yourself for the resurfacing, you accept it where you're at with it in the process. This is progress. Anytime it resurfaces, no matter what, it is progress. It's always progress, as long as you're not just letting the narration keep repeating and just becoming a victim to it, or just letting it take over. You stop normalizing it. Do whatever to change the whole cycle and process. That is progress. Even if it's creating a little bit of conflict in what's going on, because not normalizing it, that's progress. That's progress. It's the only way to make change. It's the only way to change things, to really move on and let things go and heal. But it's handling your triggers. I can't emphasize enough how much of an enormous progress it is anytime you work at it, anytime you catch it, anytime you acknowledge it, do things, self-talk, repetition. Even if it seems like a nuisance or whatever it may be, but it's making progress, allow it to be the accomplishment that it is, because it's a huge accomplishment. So allow any mistake to become a milestone of an accomplishment when you're working towards it, releasing it, letting it go, okay? Because it's strength, it's developing willpower. Realistically, it is. Don't turn to coping mechanisms, which is anything that is a distraction or diversion, to avoid working through it, to avoid looking at it, to avoid the uncomfortableness of it, blame shifting or ignoring it, or not dealing with it, or just shutting down, or cutting it off and pretending it doesn't exist. That's not dealing with it. It's okay to be vulnerable when you're working through something. So to begin to release it, you take accountability. You replace the space with what you want to represent you, meaning that the intentions that you use for your momentum matters big time. You must replace it with positive momentum energy, which is not using fear or resentment or vengeance when filling in the space. You replace the space with what you want to represent you, which after working through it, meaning that the intentions that you use for your momentum matters big time. Turn negative energy into positive energy. You must replace it with positive momentum energy, which is not using fear or resentment or vengeance when filling in space. You fill in the space with something that you feel good about yourself about. Creativity is so good right now in this. Creativity is creating something within yourself, being original, whatever, or using something maybe not original and having fun with yourself. That's what you use to replace things, not negative intentions. Anytime there's resentment, or if you're trying to replace it with, well, they did this, I'm going to do this, and you release it, you get over it, but you replaced it with hate or fear as momentum driving you, instead of acceptance and kindness within yourself and for another. There's a big difference on that momentum that you use to replace it, because that's creating something within you. That's what you're replacing it with. And if you're driving on something by refusing your invulnerability, by refusing to acknowledge your part, or by getting even with somebody, or by hate, or just gossip even or anything like that, that's replacing that negative energy with negative energy. That's becoming your momentum. That's not the way, that's not the healthy way. Replace it with something within yourself, not focusing attention on what somebody else did wrong in it, but focusing the attention on what something within yourself, to how to turn it, how to recycle it and turn it into something good, how to learn from it. That is changing your momentum and your intention. Very, very important. I can't even stress how important that is, because that is creating the new. And if you're going to create the new to get rid of something that isn't good for you or anybody, you want to replace it with something that is, if that's your choice, and something to empower yourself, something to add about yourself, something to get to know about yourself, get to know something new about yourself, learn something else, develop some other skills you have, work on that, like creative things within yourself. That's the best way to go about it, instead of the opposite, instead of just running to this coping mechanism, or running to hear people say things to us and reassure us and make us feel good about it, but we're bashing that person and not taking accountability for our part. Might be making you feel better, but it's not actually helping you resolve anything. It's just a coping mechanism. Be creative in a healthy way, okay, with good intentions stemming not from fear or hate. When you're replacing something, you don't want to have any malice, thought, or intentions of anyone at all. No gossip, no fear, no opinion focus. You only want to replace it with that stuff that is true, not complicated truth, because those things I mentioned are complicated truth. You want to replace it with simple truth. The things that allow the truth to come through, so that you can see the transformation of pain turning into beauty, because that's what happened. If you take pain and you allow in new pain or hate or resentment or anything to where you did not flush it out and heal, you just replaced it with, that's not with beauty, that's with more pain, that's with fear, that creates things within us. It creates shadows, okay, and that creates an eye for an eye, and that doesn't do anything. We don't learn lessons, we don't see how we hurt somebody. That leads into learning lessons by not wanting the punishment from it, and that's not actually learning lessons, that's not understanding, that's just not wanting punished, and that's why we don't do it. That's getting understanding. That's just fear-based. That's not like any type of loyalty, or that's not any type of connection that's actually worth. It won't bring you what you want in the end. Basically, if you want it to result, something to result in feeling good feelings, having that good connection, you have to replace it with those things within yourself. You can't replace it with negative things about another, because then you're not establishing something within yourself to receive or to give. You recycle with an open heart, and then when you're ready, you look at other perspectives to start to understand. Understanding doesn't mean tolerating. There's a difference in tolerating and understanding, and that's very important to understand. It's about resolving, not winning. Not to get your way, not winning. When you resolve something, you surrender to the outcome going a specific way that you think it should go, because if someone else is losing, you're not actually winning. That's just, the win is when there's a resolution and everyone comes to an understanding.